everyone. I'm Dana Perino along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Juan Williams, Jesse Waters, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The 5. A lot of news unfolding today on the president, the Russia investigation, that payment made to Stormy Daniels, and more. There's a new report that the feds wiretapped the phones of Michael Cohen, the president's longtime lawyer, who's now under a criminal investigation. According to NBC News, calls were allegedly intercepted in the weeks leading up to raids on his home, offices, and hotel room, and at least one of them was between Cohen and the White House. This comes on the heels of Rudy Giuliani's surprising revelations from interviews with Fox News, among them that President Trump reimbursed Cohen for the money he paid out to adult film star Stormy Daniels before the election, contradicting previous claims he didn't know about the payment. This morning on Fox and Friends, Rudy tried to quell the storm.
He didn't know the details of this until we knew the details of it, which is a couple weeks ago. Maybe not even maybe 10 days ago. He was definitely reimbursed. There's no doubt about it. This was for personal reasons. This was the president had been hurt personally, not politically, personally so much, and the first lady by some of the false allegations. That one more false allegation, right. 6 years old. I think he was trying to help the family out. But it wasn't for the campaign. Right. It was to save their not their marriage as much as their reputation.
And here's how the White House addressed the subject today.
Why the president was not truthful with the American people and with the people in this room.
As Mayor Giuliani stated, and I'll refer you back to his comments, this was information that the president didn't know at the time, but eventually learned.
That statement was in reference to the reimbursement, the payment.
Again, I gave you the best information that I had, and the allegations, the president has denied and continues to deny the underlying claim.
Why can't you just answer yes or no whether you were in the dark? I think it's a fairly simple question whether you just
I think it's
didn't
a fairly
have the
simple answer that I've given you actually several times now. I gave you the best information that I had, and I'm going to continue to do my best to do that every single day.
I thought she had a really good briefing today, but not an easy one. Kimberly, isn't it very unlikely that the judges in the criminal case that apparently is being pursued with Michael Cohen would have approved a wiretap for something like a campaign finance violation for $130,000? That seems pretty unlikely.
Too much of a stretch, unlikely. And that's Rudy Giuliani also said that he didn't think that he was being, wiretapped at Michael Cohen, that was occurring as it related to that particular incident. So,
right.
I think there was obviously some, coordination in terms of what the statement would be. People have said, wait, was this a mistake by what he said? I don't think that he accidentally blurted something like that out on hand. Let's get real. Plus, the tweet that went out was perfectly, precisely worded that the president put out as well. So now they put this information out there. I think it's part of their overall strategy.
And what is the legal strategy then? Just to try to get it out before somebody else does?
Yeah, I think you would preempt it. If you're aware of what you have and what you know and what comes to light, that then you become aware of, you handle it, you deal, you preempt and put it out there. Otherwise, it looks like you were trying to conceal something.
So, Juan, then I guess the question, at least in the White House press corps today, was a question of, well, that this is contrary to what information that the president himself and that the press secretary has put out there. She handled it the way she did. And I think that she did a pretty good job basically saying, I gave you the best information that I had. She also said in the press briefing that last night, listening to that interview was the first time she'd heard of anything different.
Yeah, you feel for her in that situation. I mean, you would know best, but I just think she's in a she's been, what do they say, a rock in a hard place. I mean, that's a tough one.
As Mike McCurry used to say, I'm double parked in a no comment zone.
Well, and I think part of this, though, that strikes me is that Giuliani was clearly pursuing a legal strategy, Dana, which said that the lawsuits, Common Cause, Committee for Responsibility and Ethics, was really leading to a campaign finance violation. And they wanted to make it clear that there was no third party that paid for the president and therefore had some leverage over the president or potentially could blackmail the president, that this was a personal payment, didn't come from the campaign, didn't come from the Trump organization, but was from the president. And therefore, they say this should all go away. But today, what we hear from these various groups is, in fact, they think their case has been bolstered by these comments because now we understand that the payment was made over time. So basically, it was a loan from Cohen, and then even Giuliani's language was a little peculiar. He said funneled through a LLC, a party that set up by Cohen. And of course, it was all done right before the election. So this alleged trice took place in 2006. But here we are right before the election, and this money is being paid it looks like, a prima facie case of being done not to save family and the wife from embarrassment, but being done to save the president and his campaign from embarrassment.
Okay, I just got in my ear a note from a little birdie told me that MSNBC apparently has a banner up right now that says, correction, the feds are monitoring, not listening to Cohen's calls. So I guess perhaps there wasn't a call that was listened to between the president or the White House and Michael Cohen. So there's just another wrinkle in the story, Jesse. Your thoughts?
Iron it out.
My thoughts. Well, listen, I was on the phone with Michael Cohen trying to book him for Waters World before the
way
raid.
To preempt. There you go. See, he's
getting that out there.
Good.
Because if those transcripts ever get out and the feds see I was bad-mouthing Gutfeld, it'd be pretty awkward. So I think it's government surveillance out of control. Wiretapping, monitoring, listening, whatever. When you think about who's been listened to, the President of the United States, campaign manager, his lawyer, his advisor, who he'd never met, his general, is now everyone's listening to these people. And this whole investigation started by partisans, and it's now being investigated by partisans. It's crazy. It's totally out of control. I don't understand what's going on. Is this about an FEC violation? I think it's a political situation with the payment. A personal situation. If it is political, FEC violation, it's a $10,000 fine.
Yeah, and actually...
So what? He's just trying to protect his marriage and his reputation.
I had a lawyer on today, Greg, that basically said even if you were to go forward with a campaign finance violation, it'd probably be a misdemeanor, and you also have to have intent. So you could imagine that Michael Cohen's defense might be, well, this, he's been my client for a long time. I tried to do this, but it's not like they had FEC lawyers on the hotline in order to call and figure it out, which might be something they'd say.
I'm going to try to look at this. I'm going to try to look at this two ways: as a legal scholar.
Oh, good.
And as just an American who watches the five. Okay, the legal scholar. If I were looking at this, I'd say you're allowed to pay a settlement. It's nothing to do with collusion. He didn't use campaign funds. Not a big deal. Now, as an American, a human being who watches the five, we already know this guy is a billionaire playboy who lived in New York for 4 decades. He's going to lie about sex. Fetch me a fainting couch and some smelling salts, because I don't care. I don't care. I am not surprised. I think most Americans watching this show right now care more about policy than porn star trysts. Fact is, voters made a choice. They made a choice, and the choice turns out to be pretty damn good. When we get into the B block and talk about the release of those hostages, I think they would agree that this is a good choice. So what we're seeing right now is an attempt to reverse that choice by people who are now putting party before country. This is not collusion. They're trying to unseat a president based on some kind of technicality. It's garbage.
I do think, Kimberly, though, that people are conflating these two things, and I don't think that they're conflatable. The Mueller investigation is over here. Right. The Cohen raid is over here, and it's not something that they're trying to unseat the president with. It might be, maybe it's something else. I don't think that you actually monitor somebody's phone calls because of a possible campaign finance violation that might be a misdemeanor.
No.
You only get that criminal wiretap if it is a wiretap.
Right. Well, they better not be.
Something else.
They better not be, but they were
and a federal
Trump
judge would have to approve that.
I mean, but you know what? We've seen enough shenanigans, haven't we? Hashtag shenanigans, so none of it would surprise me.
I don't know.
At this point, but nevertheless, no, it wouldn't be warranted. You're right. On a criminal basis, where is the sufficient evidence to say that this is something that warrants a wiretap? It would be a complete out-of-control overreach.
So then could it be something else?
Well, but maybe it could be something else. But what we see is enough. We get the weather is stormy. We got it. Let's move on in terms of what is going on here, because they're harping on this. And it's a Michael Cohen thing. It's, Avenatti saying there's more to come, that this is in fact going to undo the president. They would like, through either parallel path, for some of this to undermine the American presidency, to overrule the election, and that's why they're so invested in it. They've got all their chips in on the table.
It's like a car. I want to your point. You say you don't think it's about impeachment. This is a car with 2 gears. It's a gear for collusion, and when that doesn't work, it switches into Stormy. And then when Stormy isn't doing too well, they switch back into collusion. It's about impeachment.
3 gears, obstruction.
It's an impeachment. Yeah, it's an impeachment goal by a combination of the media and the Democrats. It's a self-reinforcing.
Well, then let me ask something though about, because, well, one, you can answer this, which is, given the polarized nation that we have at the moment and the politics that it is, you can expect that your political opponents are going to use anything that they can against you.
That's
and
true.
so if Hillary had won, the Republicans would be trying to use anything they could against her as well. We'd probably still talk
Republicans
about
are
it
too
another
soft. They'd never fight this dirty.
Well, no, you look at you
Oh,
go back and look at Clinton, Clinton and Paula Jones. There are parallels.
He was impeached over sex.
Yeah.
So what? He had the best ratings he's ever had.
Exactly. We have to call a truce on this.
Yeah, okay.
Great,
We
so
have
we
to
can
call
go
a
down
truce
that road?
on sex.
Well, first of all, let me just say, I'm listening to you guys, and I'm struck by the idea that the president lying, appearing on Air Force One and saying, nope, not so, doesn't bother you.
It doesn't.
As Americans, as people who watch the
being
five.
honest, though.
He's
He's
being
being
honest.
This is
Obviously,
from the
he
party
wasn't
that
being
says everyone
honest.
lies about sex in the 90s, Juan.
Instead, what you do
Juan,
is you're going
Greg
for
is being
conspiracy theories about this is about getting the president. This is
No,
what the
they've said
president
it.
is doing to himself.
It's not a conspiracy
And not
when
only
somebody
that-
says this is going to end the presidency, which is what
This
Avenatto
what-
said.
No, Avenatti, he's not one of the. He's not Robert.
No, he
Mueller.
said this. He's
not-
got
get out of
information
here.
to unseat the president. I think he said that.
That's so silly. Let me just
No,
say,
it's what he said.
This is the other thing that
paying
struck
for
me
him?
today is that you have Rudy Giuliani also saying that the Attorney General Jeff Sessions should get involved and he should end this thing. He should throw Mueller out the door. Meanwhile, Giuliani's saying, don't go after Ivanka. You can go after
Juan,
Jared. And
I
I'm like,
understand
what
why
is
he
going
said that,
on?
though, because there is no evidence of a crime.
Oh my gosh.
There is no evidence
Why don't
of
you allow the
obstruction, and there is no
investigation to be
evidence
completed,
of
Jesse?
collusion, Juan.
There is no-
That's when you look at the
Jesse.
questions that they leaked. There's actually no
But they
evidence.
didn't
The questions
leak them.
were
Who
trying
leaked?
to elicit
Jesse,
the
who leaked?
president for saying something that he was thinking during the time he was making
Can we
the
be clear
decisions
about one thing, though,
firing
about
James
those
Comey.
questions? The Washington Post reported that the questions weren't actually written by Robert Mueller.
No.
They were written, the Robert Mueller's team gave them a range of topics, and Jay Sekulow wrote those questions.
Correct.
And then they got leaked.
Either
So a
way,
lot
if
of
you
this-
have a
either way-
crime, prosecute it. If you don't have a crime, stop trying to invent it by getting in the president's head.
Okay, so stop trying to undermine the investigation.
I'm not undermining the investigation. A majority of Americans want a second special counsel appointed because of all the hokey pokey.
You know, the thing that's amusing from afar is the constant aha mode that cable news is in. Every day it's aha. And if you are programmed to look for an aha moment, you will hear it whether it's there or not. Yeah. I'm not looking for an aha. I'm not interested in an aha. So when I listened to Giuliani, all I heard him really say was that, you know, the president has Cohen on retainer that covers expenses that he doesn't have to know about because that's how billionaires live. That's not an aha. That's a fact.
Let me just tell you, last night was a stunning moment. That
For you, it was.
Giuliani saying that $130,000 directly paid by the president, and Greg, it didn't strike you?
No. 130 if you're worth 10 billion.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Wow. You guys
that barely covers my wine, Juan.
You can put the blinders on. I'm telling you.
No evidence of collusion of the crime itself. So that's what.
But how would we know?
happening.
How would we have that evidence?
So far, so far, those are the reports.
I mean, there was a burglary and a break-in in Watergate. That's what they were investigating, and he destroyed evidence. Trump and his team have not destroyed evidence. They've offered thousands and thousands of documents. Everybody has testified except the president. You have to protect the executive branch. You can't get inside the president's head every time he makes a decision.
It's great to see that. It's so funny why this is happening. Watching Trump's numbers go up, in the general population and among blacks, it's doubled.
I mean,
this is amazing, and I think this is really frightening.
That's why Juan hates Kanye.
Very frightening to Democrats right now, and very frightening to the media. That the more that they go after this guy, the more they elevate Trump because they're turning him into a victim, and they've got this is going to.
They can't switch gears.
Because people are saying, not your Democrat, not your immigrant. There you go.
Yeah, that's like where you ask Trump, why did you fire Comey? And he says, it was collusion. It was the Russia stuff. Oh, no, says Giuliani. It was because he wouldn't say that he wasn't a target. Well, wait a minute. It just keeps shifting.
What they should have done is just say we don't have to give an explanation.
And America goes, so what?
He also didn't trust him because he felt like he was being blackmailed when he came in with the dossier that leaked 3 days later.
It's like mobster behavior.
All right. Okay.
I hope so.
A major new development on 3 Americans being held captive by North Korea. Could they be coming home soon? Stay with us.
I don't know how she does it, but she can see the stars in the city. She sees a diamond where the world sees dust. Hides the glitter and the gritty.
Well, like most of you.
Tuesday, 18 Republican House members nominated Trump for the Nobel Prize, crediting his peace through strength policies. So, should Trump share the award if indeed he wins? We hear about Kim, Xi, and Moon, but what about the worm? Dennis Rodman, who claims Kim Jong-un didn't understand Trump until Rodman gave him The Art of the Deal. Last year, that book led to a change of heart.
I think that his impression about Donald Trump and American people, I think that he has a change of heart.
So now Trump's going to meet with Kim, and maybe American hostages might be released. This is pretty amazing news. So we went to CNN and MSNBC for a response.
No, please don't say that.
Everybody, they just hate any good news about Trump. So Rodman may be the Obama administration's most successful diplomat.
Oh my God.
Makes you wonder, should Obama have sent Peyton Manning to talk to Putin? A-Rod to China? Johnny Manziel to Tehran? The point is, anything could have worked as long as they had a copy of that book. They all would have done better than Hillary and Samantha Power. Ask those three hostages who's a better negotiator, Obama and Hillary or Trump and Rodman. Now, we all know I have as much chance of winning that award as Trump does. The Euro elites are no different than our elites. They find Trump too unseemly to ever elevate in any way. But that's the point. The exact qualities that turn off Lars in Oslo are what snagged Kim. Kim understands a guy who negotiates through power, not platitudes and legacy building. No matter what, Trump and Rodman have gotten us further with this nuclear threat than all the beltway babblers and eunuchs out there. Maybe they should read the book, too. All right, Dana, you were at this table when I called Dennis Rodman a little B word because he went to North Korea. So my mea culpa, I think I was wrong, and I should apologize to Dennis Rodman. He's an American hero.
I think you should reserve your judgment on that. I do wonder how John Kerry escaped the monologue.
Yes, well,
I mean, wow.
he moves very slow.
Wow, yes.
I also know what he did. He blended into the wooden background, and I didn't see him.
He was,
So
remember when he took
mean.
remember when he took, who did he take on the?
James Taylor.
James Taylor over to Paris.
America was happy because James Taylor was not in the country for a few days.
Right. He played a song, worked it out.
I do think that if in the long run we actually do find a peaceful solution here, which there's a long way to go from here to there, then of course then President Trump should be awarded, the Nobel Peace Prize. I also think that one of the big things, and the reason I don't think Dennis Rodman deserves so much credit, is that the strategic plan to squeeze China and to get China to get Little Rocket Man to do the right thing is the brilliance of this whole plan.
And who started that, Kimberly? A man named Donald Trump.
Donald Trump, The Art of the Deal.
A book I didn't read.
So if we're following this train of thought, amazing peace and world negotiator Dennis Rodman, equipped with a book, was able to change the mindset of Kim Jong-un, making him totally sane and open to the charms of POTUS. And then he therefore said, you know what, I'm going to stop being a bad actor, and I'm going to get it together. And I'm going to shake hands and work with South Korea, and I'm going to release hostages, and I'm going to stop running around being Little Rocket Man.
So I was thinking, Juan, that you should go to Iran with my book, Gutfeld Monologues.
That would solve
And I think that would solve everything.
Yeah, might not ever come back.
Yes.
Oh my
Is that your idea?
It's a win-win either way. It's a win-win either way.
Jesse,
So nice.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, what if it worked?
It could work.
Are
It
you
could
in?
work.
Are you in?
Anything for Greg. You know that.
You're just hoping Juan gets trapped over there.
No, but none of the
Another
sales.
hostage we're going to have to rescue.
Thank you.
We'll get right on it.
Yeah, Jesse would be like,
Jesse
later.
would be my seal. You know, he'll come in there, right? Yeah.
Oh, you'll never get out
Oh,
there.
no. You're a young man.
I'd
Can't even
ask-
start
I'd
a
ask for me to
campfire.
rescue you
Oh,
instead.
wait.
Yeah.
Listen.
Remember that? Yeah.
So,
Well,
What do you-
I'm struck by Dennis Rodman. I just think that's wonderful. Have fun.
Yeah.
But I think you're having fun, and I think that.
Oh, he's serious.
Well, no, what you said is serious, Kimberly. I mean, come on. So he took a book and it changed everything. I mean, you know.
it could be.
That was satire.
We talk about on this table how a
Thank you.
book can change your life.
But what happened between the book and now? He actually got nuclear weapons.
Well, that's the art of the deal. Negotiation.
That's
right.
I mean, besides the Bible, The Art of the Deal is probably right up there as the second best
Way
book.
to couch that.
Probably. Listen, if 3 years ago you would have said that Donald Trump and Dennis Rodman with the support of Kanye West,
Yes.
we're ending the Korean War, I would have dropped dead.
Yeah.
This is incredible. I say
Check
we
your pulse.
get Kushner out of the Middle East. I say send Rodman.
Exactly.
And then maybe they can share the Peace Prize, those two. And I think everything's happening for a reason.
What do you, Dana, do you think that, I mean, on the serious point, we hear of the imminent release of these hostages. What does that mean? Really?
Well, I think it means a couple of things. That Mike Pompeo, when he was there and he actually met with Kim Jong-un, it was probably a condition.
Yeah.
And also John Bolton, the new national security advisor, is like, we're not going to. Remember Bergdahl?
Yes.
And the trade?
Yes.
It was like not really a good trade.
Right.
That's not going to happen in this administration. And so there is no possible way that President Trump would be willing to meet with somebody who was holding Americans hostage in a labor camp. So in order to make that happen, they have to be released. Two of them had been taken hostage in 2017, one before that, I think in 2015. Hopefully they can. Apparently they're at a hotel now. They've been moved from the camp to a hotel. And that when we meet them, I actually think it's going to be very interesting. It'll probably take years for us to actually get all the information. But imagine what we might learn from them about how Kim Jong-un actually works. And so I do want to tap the brakes on this idea that Kim Jong-un should share in a Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, you know what's interesting to me is we've had releases
person.
before, Dana. I mean, we had releases with in 2009, I think, with Bill Clinton, and 2010 with Jimmy Carter. And so this is what the people at State and others say, you know, this is part of his behavior. This is how he plays the game, and he makes offers, and it's not clear what our strategy is going in.
I like our strategy.
I see some people want to celebrate early.
Could you imagine Otto Warmbier, right?
Yeah.
The message better be in good health.
Well, then we'll look at what happened with Otto.
We got so much to talk about, including Hillary Clinton.
Oh, again.
You're going to love this.
More
She's got a brand new excuse for losing the election. I love this one because she might be right. The 5 returns.
Jesse leaked it. We've heard enough excuses from Hillary Clinton as to why she didn't win the White House. I didn't think there were any more left. But behold, there's another. Here's her latest gem.
You may be the only presidential candidate since World War II that actually had to stand up and say, I am a capitalist. And you did. Did it hurt you?
Probably. I mean, you know, it's hard. It's hard to know. But I mean, if you're in the Iowa caucuses and 41% of Democrats are socialists or self-described socialists, and I'm asked, "Are you a capitalist?" and I say yes, but with appropriate regulation and appropriate accountability. You know, that probably gets lost in the, oh my gosh, she's a capitalist.
I mean.
All right, well, so people are like, yet another. We're like adding him up, hashtag, yet another excuse. So what's going on here, Greg? Because I know you get delighted every time Hillary makes an appearance.
This one's especially hilarious because she's right.
Yep.
A large portion of the Democratic Party are sniveling socialists. They're for the universal basic income, higher taxes, top-down control over
guaranteed
people,
jobs.
guaranteed jobs. Identity over the individual, but they weren't voting for Trump. She was their only choice, so she shouldn't be complaining. And I don't think the Democratic Party would actually disagree with her on this. They are chasing a failed system. We have the most effective political economical system in the history of the world, but the Democrats, they're like Sideshow Bob. They keep walking into rakes, you know, and it's always going to be, they're always going to move to socialism, and they're always going to fail.
All right, that was a good little
Sideshow Bob walking into rakes?
synopsis.
Well, probably
yeah,
the best
I know, that
episode.
analogy was good, but I think we should move this excuse maybe to number one. It actually has some credence to it. So well done, well done.
But it's a lie, too.
Well,
But it is very instructive about what's going to happen in 2020.
Yeah.
Because the ground really shifted under Hillary Clinton's feet from when she ran in 2008 to 2016. In 2008, Bernie Sanders could not have run as an avowed socialist and won. If you think about the free trade politics, everything had changed. And I don't know what they're going to do in 2020, because if the economy is going as well, it's going super well now. Can that continue to 2020? Probably for a little while here. How are they going to make an argument that there should be something different? I think that will be very difficult. But if you look at a place like Ohio right now, there's a very heated gubernatorial race. The Bernie Sanders supporters are out there in force, and you have a state that is actually turning pretty red. and it's more likely that a Republican will be able to win.
Another idea is like, whoa, this tactic's not going to work. But it's true. You saw it with just kind of the groundswell of support, Jesse, for Bernie Sanders, more progressive candidates, forcing the Democratic Party as a whole to tack further to the left and more progressive ideology. A little bit of a pinch for him there.
Yeah, Democrats like Bernie because he fights for the poor and he looks poor. That really helps him with the hair and everything like that. Right. Democrats don't do well when they run really wealthy candidates. If you look at Gore and Kerry and Hillary, word for Democrats. They love socialism, but they can't define it. When you ask a Democrat, and I do this on the street, where has socialism worked? They can never say. Has it worked in Venezuela? Not so much.
They don't give you the old
And they'll point
Finland?
to Sweden. Right.
Yeah.
So they'll point to Sweden. Okay, if Sweden's fine, if you want to be taken care of for the rest of your life, if you want to live a middle-class life. If you start with nothing in this country, you can have a yacht. In Sweden, that can never happen. The best part about America is there's upward mobility and grit, and that's rewarded. It's never going to be rewarded instead of hand-ups.
I was like, so weird. It was like an infomercial. You too can get a yacht.
Although I can disagree with you before I get to one. You know, there are some very good-looking poor people.
Yes.
I was poor.
Yes,
for a long time.
I was one of them.
Yes, I was poor for a long time.
And I'm still more poor than you.
Yeah.
And better looking.
Everyone was poor in
See,
college.
you disproved your point.
All right, Jesse really didn't mean that. Nevertheless, the mom text is going to be
She already hit me up for a poll I cited. She wanted it.
In fact, you know, you're citing Rasmussen, which is conservative leading. They have almost half of Americans agreeing that we should have guaranteed jobs in this country.
Well, that scares
me. So I guess they're a socialist. But I mean, what you have at this moment is a heightened sense of concern and people feeling, oh, I got left behind. I'm never going to catch up. I can't get a house as good as my parents. But the key here is, I remember you guys going after Hillary Clinton during the campaign for why doesn't she release her speeches to Wall Street? So this is part of the same attack initiated by Bernie Sanders, who came within 1 percentage point of tying Hillary Clinton in Iowa, a state where about half of the Democrats said they are self-described as socialists. And those numbers are national if you especially look at young Democrats. But I think they're confusing socialism with populism of the Trump, Bernie Sanders style, which is really about speaking to economic needs in a nation where the opportunity for progress has been diminished because of income inequality.
Good point. All right. That's it for us now. Put a bow on it. Being Stormy Daniels' attorney doesn't appear to be enough for Michael Avenatti. His big plans next. Stay with us.
You know, it's
Stormy Daniels' attorney, Michael Avenatti, is in fact everywhere these days, or at least when it comes to being on TV. After new developments over a payment to his client, Avenatti was back on CNN making bold proclamations.
Every statement that I've made, every prediction in this case thus far, Don Lemon, has come true. I have been right, and I don't say that to be egotistical. I've been right all along.
It turns out CNN can't get enough of this guy. Media Research Center finds that he was on that network 59 times in less than 2 months. That's almost once a day for those bad at math like me. Avenatti isn't hiding his true intentions either.
I mean, we're going to continue to use the media. I think we've used it with great success, and I've said that this entire process is all about results, and that's what we're ultimately interested in.
And Stormy's attorney is telling Vanity Fair multiple networks are approaching him about having his own show. Avenatti also reportedly pitched MSNBC directly about joining. Juan, this guy is a publicity hound, you have to admit it.
Yeah, he's using the press ably.
And the press loves being used.
Boy, I don't know. Do you think he's, you know, Greg was talking about how Kim Jong-un was reading Art of the Deal. I think in this case, Avenatti is following the Trump blueprint in how you use media to advance your political cause. And he's doing it ably, I must say. Now, Giuliani's on the air all the time. Maybe he's picked up on this, too. How do you use media to advance this cause? Avenatti is effective. I think that's why they keep having him on. And the Stormy Daniels story is real.
He's a better self-promoter than he is a lawyer, because I think Kimberly, a judge, is probably going to rule against Stormy Daniels, and she's going to have to pony up.
Yeah, well, and I wonder who's paying for all of this. I mean, who's paying the attorney fees and what really working the machine to be able to get some results for himself Oh, and then he has a client.
That's right. Forgot about her.
Yeah.
59 times, Dana. That's almost as much as you were on television.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Are you watching me a lot?
The daily briefing every day.
Yes, but I'm actually, see, that's one thing I would say is that it's actually, Michael, it's a lot of work to have your own show. You don't just get to show up and like bloviate. I just want to know from them, what is the outcome they desire? I don't understand. And that's why there's speculation like this of possibly they want a show, maybe they want more money, maybe they want. I actually really would love to know, like, what is the legal outcome that you very much want? What would be the headline that would be the one that you would imagine in your dreams as the most important one, so that we could understand where you want to go with it?
I think it's money and fame, and then to damage the president politically. What do you think, Greg?
He has said he
3 years.
he could unseat the president. Look, Juan is correct that he's using the media, but the difference is he's fulfilling a narrative that Trump didn't. Trump just made things exciting. He's fulfilling to cut a country, to split a country in two, to advance a career. But I have to hand it to him. This is what he wants to do, and the dupes are the media. And the media for the last, I don't know how long, has been saying it's America that was duped by Trump. No, it was the media that was duped by Trump, and now are being duped by him.
Yeah, but they want to be, because they want the same desired outcome.
Except us, of course. The PC police are sure out in full force these days. Now they're going after...
Make sure you're connected. The right
We told you about that prom dress controversy earlier this week, an uproar over a white teen in Utah wearing an Asian-style dress. Now the University of New Hampshire has decided to replace its Cinco de Mayo celebrations this Saturday with Unity Day so it doesn't, quote, distress its Latino students. And there's a race row with the longest-running TV show in America, my favorite, The Simpsons. Allegations that the character Apu is a stereotype of South Asian immigrants. Creator Matt Groening pushing back, saying he's proud of the show and, quote, I think it's time in our culture where people love to pretend that they're offended. Kimberly?
Yeah, I mean, that is. It's like we live in a world of, perpetual offense. Like, everybody's offended about something at some point, and so you just open up, when you wake up every morning, you just go, I'm sorry, right? Because you don't know who you might particularly offend. People used to love The Simpsons, right? Very successful show. Now things are getting sort of picked apart. Okay, is this character bad? Is that character bad? I don't know. Do you have a problem with this character?
Well, no, I love The Simpsons. And Apu is not a major character, but I must say I'm struck by the idea that comes from the critics, Kimberly, that he's the only representation of a South Asian male on TV. And of course, it's not that, convenience stores owner, I think he runs the Quickie Mart on The Simpsons, don't exist. The question is it a caricature of people who are striving immigrants?
Well, according to Joe Biden, everybody at 7-Eleven has an Indian accent. So, I mean, we all remember that gaffe. Apu is not offensive. And if you want to play that game, Groundskeeper Willie is offensive to Scotch-Irish alcoholics. In the effort to be full disclosure here, my uncle works for the University of New Hampshire. I want to get that out of the way. Also, so the Latin community at the New Hampshire University is upset about Cinco de Mayo. Apparently, Cinco de Mayo is when the Mexicans beat the French. Now, that is a low bar. I'm not sure I would have a holiday if I beat the French. I mean, that'd be like an everyday thing for me.
Yeah.
But they say that they're upset. It created distress in the Latin community to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. So I don't know.
But they're celebrating a win.
They're celebrating a victory, albeit a French over the French, but
low bar.
Well, be happy. Be happy.
All right, so Dana.
What a bizarre analysis.
The other side of the argument so ably presented by Jesse.
Is there another side?
The Latino community at the University of New Hampshire said, hey, we don't like people walking around making fun of Mexican culture and the like. And then when they said this, it set off a series of racial incidents on the campus, racist incidents like graffiti, swastikas, slurs, vandalism. And so now the college says we would like this to be a unifying event.
Okay, then order up some margaritas and, enjoy. Life is meant to be enjoyed, okay? Young people at the universities, stop it.
Everybody
That you're so privileged to live in this country and to be getting an education and to have a chance to know all sorts of people from all different cultures. Nobody is making fun of Hispanic culture by celebrating Cinco de Mayo. It's just a chance, an excuse to have a party.
Exactly.
Yeah, no one's offended.
A fiesta for
Everybody,
those of us
and
who are
actually,
watching
who
that speak
doesn't
Spanish.
like guac and chips and salsa?
No,
and it's my
absolutely.
favorite food. Am I going to get accused of cultural appropriation?
I want to appropriate it. I wish the Puerto Ricans had a good, holiday like that. So I just go ahead and go with Cinco de Mayo.
Well, I think, you know what, I was looking around today at the stores for a paste-on mustache for Gregory.
Why?
You know.
Oh.
You know.
To do what?
So you can look, you can culturally
To be in an adult
appropriate-
movie? I don't know.
No, what is that? What is the image of the guy on the coffee bag? Juan
Valdez.
You know,
there you go.
a lot of this is
No one knows.
born from the social justice movement, which are they literally have become the fun police. They're a humorless mob on every campus out to eliminate joy because they have none in their lives, because the oppressive versus oppressed narrative has made them so incredibly angry that any cultural appreciation becomes appropriation. Brett Weinstein, who's a great professor, Weinstein, said it best. He says, when you come face to face with a group of people who are devoid of all humor, then there is no potential for dialogue. And humor provides the good-natured kind of path to shared experience. We can make jokes with each other, therefore we understand each other. Without humor, you're going to end up with intolerance and ultimately fascism. So if you can't have fun, when you were talking about those hate crimes, which are almost always entirely hoaxes. Afterwards, they find out that the news was placed by somebody else, or the writing on the wall was done by somebody else. That's what happens. You can no longer meet. The individuals cannot meet because the groups say no.
Well, I'm all for it. I'm all for fun. I'm all for Cinco de Mayo, but I'm not for making fun of minority students on the campus.
That's a daring position.
Neither am I.
I mean, is anybody for that?
I think you guys just say, oh, we we just see the
When I get
fun.
out of the five, I go make fun of minorities, Juan. You can see me on the street.
Okie doke. One more thing is up next. We told you about that prom dress controversy earlier this week, an uproar over a white teen in Utah wearing an Asian-style dress. Now the University of New Hampshire has decided to replace its Cinco de Mayo celebrations this Saturday with Unity Day so it doesn't, quote, distress its Latino students. And there's a race row with the longest-running TV show in America, my favorite, The Simpsons. Allegations that the character Apu is a stereotype of South Asian immigrants. Creator Matt Groening pushing back, saying he's proud of the show and, quote, I think it's time in our culture where people love to pretend that they're offended. Kimberly?
Yeah, I mean, that is. It's like we live in a world of, perpetual offense. Like everybody's offended about something at some point. And so you just open up, when you wake up every morning, you just go, I'm sorry, right? Because you don't know who you might particularly offend. People used to love The Simpsons, right? Very successful show. Now things are getting sort of picked apart. Okay, is this character bad? Is that character bad? I don't know. Do you have a problem with this character?
Well, no, I love The Simpsons. And Apu is not a major character, but I must say I'm struck by the idea that comes from the critics, Kimberly, that he's the only representation of a South Asian male on TV. And of course, it's not that, convenience stores owner, I think he runs the Quickie Mart on The Simpsons, don't exist. The question is it a caricature of people who are striving immigrants?
Well, according to Joe Biden, everybody at 7-Eleven has an Indian accent. So, I mean, we all remember that gaffe. Apu is not offensive. And if you want to play that game, Groundskeeper Willie is offensive to Scotch-Irish alcoholics. In the effort to be full disclosure here, my uncle works for the University of New Hampshire. I want to get that out of the way. Also, so the Latin community at the New Hampshire University is upset about Cinco de Mayo. Apparently, Cinco de Mayo is when the Mexicans beat the French. Now, that is a low bar. I'm not sure I would have a holiday if I beat the French. I mean, that'd be like an everyday thing for me.
Yeah.
But they say that they're upset. It created distress in the Latin community to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. So I don't know.
But they're celebrating a win.
They're celebrating a victory, albeit a French over the French, but
Low
still.
bar. Low bar.
Well, be happy. Be happy.
All right, so Dana.
What a bizarre,
Dana,
bizarre analysis.
The other
yes.
side of the argument so ably presented by Jesse.
Is there another side?
The Latino community at the University of New Hampshire said, hey, you know, we don't like people walking around making fun of Mexican culture and the like. And then when they said this, it set off a series of racial incidents on the campus, racist incidents like graffiti, swastikas, slurs, vandalism. And so now the college says we would like this to be a unifying event.
Okay, then order up some margaritas and, enjoy. Life is meant to be enjoyed, okay, young people at the universities, stop it.
Everybody
You're so privileged to live in this country and to be getting an education and to have a chance to know all sorts of people from all different cultures. Nobody is making fun of Hispanic culture by celebrating Cinco de Mayo. It's just a chance, an excuse to have a party.
Exactly.
Yeah, no one's offended.
A fiesta.
Everybody,
for those of us
and
who are
actually,
watching
who
and speak
doesn't
Spanish.
like guac and chips and salsa?
No,
and it's my
absolutely.
favorite food. Am I going to get accused of cultural appropriation?
I want to appropriate it. I wish the Puerto Ricans had a good, holiday like that. So I just go ahead and go with Cinco de Mayo.
Well, I think, you know what, I was looking around today at the stores for a paste-on mustache for Gregory.
Why?
You know.
Oh.
You know.
To do what?
So you could culturally
To be in an adult
appropriate-
movie? I don't know.
No, you know. What is that? What is the image of the guy on the coffee bag? Juan
Valdez. You know,
there you go.
A lot of this is
No one knows.
born from the social justice movement, which are they're literally have become the fun police. They're a humorless mob on every campus out to eliminate joy because they have none in their lives, because the oppressive versus oppressed narrative has made them so incredibly angry that any cultural appreciation becomes appropriation. Brett Weinstein, who's a great professor, Weinstein, said it best. He says, when you come face to face with a group of people who are devoid of all humor, then there is no potential for dialogue. And humor provides the good-natured kind of path to shared experience. We can make jokes with each other, therefore we understand each other. Without humor, you're going to end up with intolerance and ultimately fascism. So if you can't have fun, when you were talking about those hate crimes, which are almost always entirely hoaxes. Afterwards, they find out that the news was placed by somebody else or the writing on the wall was done by somebody else. That's what happens. You can no longer meet. The individuals cannot meet because the groups say no.
Well, you know, I'm all for it. I'm all for fun. I'm all for Cinco de Mayo, but I'm not for making fun of minority students on the campus.
That's a daring position.
Neither am I.
I mean, is anybody for that?
I think you guys just say, oh, we we just see the
When I get
fun.
out of the five, I go make fun of minorities, Juan. You can see me on the street.
Okie doke. One more thing is up next.